I'm Alex with Storyline Travel, and today we're going to talk about Embarkation Day, the first day of your cruise. So stick around. So, you've decided to take that cruise. Congratulations. But now it's getting time to go on the water. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for that first day to make it really a wonderful experience. To be honest, we're going to start a day before. There's some prep work that needs to go in before you get ready to board your ship that will just make your life that much easier. First, you want to get your paperwork in order. Your cruise line contract, your passports, your identification as you get ready to head to the port. On your passport, take a look at the expiration date. Make sure that it expires 6 months after the day that your cruise is going to end. In many cases, you need to make sure you have some buffer in case something happens and you get stuck in a foreign country. 6 months is the recommendation, and many airlines and cruise lines will actually enforce that and not let you get on board without that 6-month buffer. So you definitely want to make sure you have your passports with you and that you have that buffer in place. Now, for anyone in the US that's doing a closed loop cruise, what that means is you leave from a US port and you're going to come back to that same US port. It is possible to use a state issued or a government issued ID, photo ID, and your birth certificate. And make sure it's that embossed birth certificate, not the one with the baby feet. Be sure you double check with your travel agent, like Storyline Travel, or with the cruise line directly to ensure your paperwork is in order. Do that the day before. Make sure it is with your luggage or your day bag that you're going to take with you. This way, once you leave home, you have that with you. That is one of the most important things. You cannot get on a cruise ship that's leaving the country without that documentation. And if you get to the port, especially if you're far away from home and you don't have it, it's very disappointing to watch that ship sail away from port without you on it. Second, you want to double check what are the recommendations and requirements for the cruise that you're going to take. In 2020, the world shut down with the coronavirus pandemic. And as the cruise world is starting up in 2021 and beyond, many cruise lines have requirements for masks or requirements for vaccination status, whether it's the COVID vaccine or really any other vaccine that's a requirement. You're going to want to check 3 different things when you're looking for recommendations and requirements. One is the cruise line itself. They will have notices posted about your cruise, what's required and what's recommended. As a U.S. citizen, you want to double check with the Centers of Disease Control website and their recommendations, as well as the U.S. State Department if you're going to be visiting, most likely you will be, countries outside of the U.S. on a cruise. Now, that's a lot of legwork for you, and that's one advantage of using a travel agent. Storyline Travel will validate that information to you and send a summary of requirements and recommendations. But definitely be sure to check that. I know in 2021 and 2022 cruises, there's a good chance that we'll have to have a COVID vaccine. So one of the required documents you need to have with you is your COVID vaccine card with both the medication or the vaccine that you took and the date. A fully vaccinated person, as of this filming in the fall of 2021, is 14 days past your last shot. So you want to know what those are, have those dates, and have that information with you. And finally, a day before Embarkation Day, if you live more than 100 miles from the port, or if you're traveling by air to your cruise, travel the day before. Airlines sometimes are running late. There's times when they have to cancel or postpone a flight by several hours. And traveling the day of is really a high risk at not meeting the deadline for sail. One thing about ships that I have found to be absolutely accurate is when they say they're sailing at a specific time, that boat leaves the port. So if you're delayed by your airline and you're traveling day of, there's a good chance that you could land before or after, right before or right after your cruise ship is left, not giving you the time to get on board. If you're driving and more than 100 miles, a couple of hours out, there's a lot of potential, detours, weather issues, just any number of problems that could delay you getting to the port. So our recommendation is get there the day before, have a nice hotel, get some rest, and get ready for that exciting first day on the cruise. That's the day before. Let's look at some tips for the day of. Now, many cruise lines have you schedule a time to arrive at the port. It's good to have that scheduled and to know when is your recommended time to arrive at the port. This will help with alleviating bottlenecks of a crowded port. This will help you to much faster get through that whole booking process and get on board and start having fun and relaxing. So you don't want to show up too early. You may run into a huge crowd and have to wait around. You don't want to show up too late where you're hurrying down the gangplank and jumping on board the ship just in time for it to set sail, go through your emergency procedures or whatever else, and you're scrambling around. Get that time, get the recommended time you should be there, and plan to get there at that time. Second, as you arrive at the port, you'll be met most likely with a porter, someone who will handle your luggage for you while you're going through the boarding process. They'll get your luggage, get it on board into your stateroom. I highly recommend you use these porters. Have some cash handy for a tip, but let them handle lugging your baggage through and getting it on board. You're going to have enough to deal with in going through security checks, getting checked in at the port itself, and getting on board. That being said, make sure you have a day bag. Day bags are great for that first day. You may want to have a swimsuit and some sunscreen, maybe a change of clothes, depending on whether you're doing Alaska versus the Caribbean. You want to have any medication that's required, make sure that's in your day bag. As mentioned before, your travel documents would be in there, and anything else that you think would be useful to have. Because once you're on board, there's usually a period of time before your stateroom is ready and your luggage has arrived. So you want to have that day bag available to you as you get on board. Now, you've gotten through security, your luggage is being handled for you, all your paperwork was in order, you get called and you head to the ship. One last piece of advice from Storyline Travel. Once you get on board, find out if there is a different venue for eating than the buffet. Many cruise lines will just generically push everyone to the ship's buffet that's on board, and that causes for chaos and a madhouse. Every person who's coming on is heading to the same area of the ship, and it's pretty much the one time when everybody's being forced to one point. What we do and what we advise is find out if there is an alternative dining venue available. Many times it'll be a nice and quiet dining room included in the cruise, or maybe at a small fee, but you get the piece to sit down, enjoy a meal, and not be with most of the people as they gather on the ship. So look for that. Working with a travel advisor at Storyline, we can tell you based on the ship that you're getting on, some recommendations on different restaurants or venues that might be open in addition to the buffet, and even guide you as to where on the ship it is, so that as you come in and they point you to the buffet, you can say, thank you, appreciate that, go around the corner and go to the deck with the more quiet dining room. My family and I have done that specifically on a Disney cruise. We kept getting pointed towards the buffet. We said thank you, walked around the corner, took the stairs down a deck, and went and had a nice, quiet, peaceful lunch in a different restaurant that was also open on Embarkation Day for us. So we enjoyed that. So, you're ready for your cruise. You're now prepared. You've got all the tips. If you like this, give us a thumbs up. If you think somebody else could benefit it, please share it with them. That would be great. We also ask that you subscribe. We come out with these every week, these videos every week, and we'd love to have you here, and set that notification bell. That way you know when something new is posted on Friday. At Storyline Travel, we say every adventure is a story waiting to be told.